Good morning and good afternoon, Hum Hum Space community. So nice to be with you again, although I don't see you. It's nice to share energy and space with you. My name is Dr. Eileen, and I am one of the mental health practitioners that works with Hum Hum Space, a conscious dating site. And I'm wishing all of you just the best journey during your dating adventure. Today we are going to be talking about sex. We're continuing our communication, sex, and consent talks. And this is part 2. 2 weeks ago, we discussed communication, all of the different ways we communicate, including verbal, nonverbal, eye language, body language, as well as the communication that we have with ourselves, and if we pay attention to our nervous system and some of the somatic symptoms that we experience, then we can get really in touch with how we're feeling about ourselves. Hello, good morning, Maribel. Nice to see you. So in today's talk, part 2, we are going to be discussing initiating and navigating the sex journey, sexual experience. We're going to talk about foreplay. Basically, what we like to do is compile some of the questions that our Hum Hum Space community sends to us, and then those themes that seem to be common we respond to. And so I'd like to thank those of you that have either emailed Hum Hum Space, or some of you have actually emailed me directly, and I really appreciate your interest and your desire to understand the complexities of sexual intimacy and communication around sex with a potential partner, as well as knowing when you're even ready, right, to engage. And I think it's important because we're all at different stages of the intimacy experience. Some people have been celibate for a long time. Some people just broke up with someone. Some people have gone through a divorce. Some people have been in a relationship for a long time, but sex has always been complicated or odd or weird. And so wherever we fall, on this continuum, may the information that we're all talking about, I'm the clinical expert in this particular talk today, but we're all bringing our life experience. And so let's continue to share and lift each other up and encourage one another with our different perspectives, because it helps us all grow. And since we're a conscious community, the contribution of the collective is really, truly valuable. So thank you, all of you who continue, hi Alexa, those that, continue to email and participate in the various groups, and you just continue to show up no matter what your dating experience has been. Bravo, brave souls. And may the journey continue to be an incredible, awesome, even passionate experience. So I'd like to remind our community that we want to love ourselves first. By loving ourselves first with self-care practices and maintaining our ADLs, activities of daily living, whether we are single or whether we are in partnership, loving ourselves first allows us to remember our worth, our self-worth, our dignity, and to reclaim it. And so it's very interesting because the journey of dating can either cause us to spiral down, or it can cause us to spiral up and have a glow up, depending on your perspective. So I've talked about passion, and I've talked about doing those things that light you up and being authentic. All of those we want to continue that, but also as part of our journey, let's not forget about self-love as reclamation of all that we are. This self-worth fortifies the conversations that we're going to have around sex and intimacy with others. I call them our truth statements. And we want to remain true to ourselves. We want to know what those truth statements are. And self-love and self-worth helps us to really be aligned with those things. So today we are going to be looking at some of the questions that came forward recently. We'll be exploring sexual attraction, instant attraction versus delayed attraction. We'll talk about foreplay and a few other things. So sexual attraction is a response to another person, and it can be influenced by a variety of things, including your genetics, psychological and emotional variables, cultural variables, many, many different things. One of the questions that came forward was, if I feel an instant attraction, is this an indicator of how the relationship will go and sexual intimacy? And, the answer to that is it could be, right? But not necessarily so. So it could indicate an indication of how things are going to go, what the relationship will be like, but not necessarily. Why do we feel instant attraction to people? Some people were immediately drawn to them. They're just like eye candy, right? Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's energy. Other people were not as affected by immediately. Mood, hormones, neurotransmitters, how alike we are. All of these things determine whether or not we experience an instant attraction or not. There can be a physical excitement that you experience because you're having such a great time emotionally. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because sometimes you're with someone, you're really enjoying your time with them, you like talking with them, and whatever experience you're having, let's say you're on a date, it's so wonderful, and yet you may assume that means you're ready for sexual intimacy, and then if you go in too quickly, you might be disappointed because maybe there was still data that needed to be collected from both of you, so that to make sure that the connection was truly where you wanted it to be for you to go to that next level. So we want to always remember readiness and really look at the connection. What is it that I'm experiencing with this other person? Am I really enjoying my time with them? And is that all I need in this moment? Or do I really want to take it to that next level? Or just because I'm feeling aroused by this person, I like the way they smell, I like the way they're dressed, I like the way they're talking to me, I like this eye contact, that we're having, this conversation that we're experiencing, even in the silence, I'm really noticing I'm turned on by it. And yet, is that what serves my highest good at this time to go to the next level, or should I just keep it where it is? Again, going back to your truth statements, really, being grounded in your authenticity and honoring where you are is going to be key. So for many people, sexual attraction is a big key in a relationship. However, for many others, it's not. For a lot of us, especially those of us that are embarking on this high conscious journey, things like, personality and how the person treats you is more valuable than that instant physical or sexual attraction. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having instant physical attraction, but for some of us, that is less important than personality and how they treat you, right? In fact, you might not be initially attracted to someone physically, but if they treat you in the most impeccable, most beautiful way, you feel respected, you feel like there's dignity in this experience. That can be a huge turn on for some of us, right? There are people who only experience sexual attraction if there's an emotional bond. I think that's true for many of us that consider ourselves to be high conscious beings and who are trying to live authentically. If there's no emotional connection, it kind of doesn't matter how much physical attraction there is. It doesn't matter how handsome or how beautiful or how sexy, the person is, if we feel that they're arrogant or narcissistic or they're not going to ultimately treat us well. So going back to the talk a couple of weeks ago, really follow your gut, really listen to your gut. We don't want to judge people, right? We don't want to judge a book by its cover, and we certainly don't want to judge anybody by first glance, but the nervous system doesn't lie. If we begin to listen and align, to that higher part of us that really does know what's best for us, and we allow mind, body, spirit, energy to work in sync, we can really make the right choices for ourselves with regard to who we actually want to engage with sexually. So another question, how to approach if I sense that the person I'm dating might be objectifying me, if it feels like they're putting sex as a higher priority than I see it at this time, if they're moving at a faster timeline than I'm comfortable, how do I deal with that? And so this is this is a very interesting question. I think it's a very common experience, and thank you for bringing that question to us so we could really look at it and take some time with it. So again, going back to stating your truth, really being in your truth statements and communicating that with the other. So being assertive, but in a non-defensive way if possible. Now, if the person's just blatantly disrespectful, you may have to set some really strong boundaries. But remember, when we're with someone, they may be really nervous, whether we realize that or not. They may be super duper attracted to us and really want to spend a lot more time with us, and so make a lot of mistakes in some of the things that they say. They may put their foot in their mouth. They may be too touchy-feely. It's not necessarily an indication that this person is disrespectful. They may be somewhat immature or raw in their approach to dating. They may not have gone on a date in a long time. They may not have been intimate for a long time. And so there's all kinds of reasons why their approach may not be stellar and may even be a bit uncomfortable. Let's consider addressing it this way. I wrote something down, and any variation of this, and of course find your truth. But the person is moving a little bit too fast, making sexual jokes or being a little too touchy-feely, or straight up suggesting that we hit the sack, and it's like we're an hour into the date and I'm like, whoa, no. Hey, thank you for expressing your attraction to me. I do appreciate that. We all have different love languages, and my love language is really, I'm noticing with me, it's only expressed when I feel like the other person genuinely sees me, knows me, understands me, values me. When I feel like they are really into me in a non-physical, non-sexual manner, and I don't feel like I'm being objectified or pressured in any way, it really makes it a lot easier for me to relax. And maybe I'm not necessarily interested in having sex right now, but eventually, if I feel respected, and if I feel known, if I feel seen, if I feel cared for, if I feel like, you're kind of falling in love with my heart, my soul, my generosity, my authenticity, for me, that's a major turn on, because it says to me, you want to know me. Not just my body, but you want to know me. And when I feel like somebody knows me and sees me, and I'm also into that person, that makes it so much easier for my walls to come down. It makes it so much easier for me to really just allow my playfulness and my own genuine sexual attraction to rise. And so while I can't say whether it's going to happen or not, I know that if you and I build a connection, and I feel seen and heard and witnessed by you, and you allow me to see you and hear you and witness you, there's a huge possibility that it could go there. And if that happens, I'm really looking forward to it. So of course you don't have to say it the way I said it. I know that was very long, but one of the things I think is important is to not shoot ourselves in the foot just because somebody is moving quickly. A person may be nervous, and this may work out. They may back off. They may learn to respect your boundaries. You may have a great time in other ways, non-sexually, and down the line, it feels right for both of you. So let's watch how we address it. Of course, if boundaries are completely crossed, then set those boundaries, be firm, stay in your truth statements. But one of the things I find with a lot of my clients, if they feel somebody's flirting too much, then they get very defensive and very cold, and they shut down. And that has nothing to do with the person that they're with right now. It's usually linked to, previous experiences. So stay in your truth statement, your truth statements, being authentic, address the issue head on, and see if you can phrase it in a way that there is the possibility when you feel comfortable. Of course, if you already know there's no way, and you know what, that you're going to be ever, then that's your truth statement. And, with as much grace and dignity, you probably have to let them know it's not going to happen. All right, another question that came forward recently is, what is foreplay? What is healthy foreplay? So let's take a look at healthy versus unhealthy. Healthy foreplay, okay, so we're talking about those things that precede actual physical sexual intimacy. Healthy foreplay would be those things that include emotional and physical safety, okay? A pressure-free experience where it's consensual, where it's pleasurable, and where it's comfortable for the parties involved. So anything that is authentic and feels aligned with your values, while at the same time considering, your partner's experience and values, that could be healthy foreplay. And I'm actually going to give some examples in a few moments. One of the articles I read recently on foreplay suggested that, as part of foreplay prior to sex, you explore fantasies and send media videos. And I have to be honest with you, I don't agree with that. No judgment if that's comfortable for any of you. I don't necessarily agree with that, though, because I feel like it could be a big setup for triggering or trauma. You haven't been with this person physically yet, but sending videos and even exploring fantasies prior to physically being with that person and knowing what they're like, together, it could set an expectation. So let's say, for example, I'm talking with somebody long distance, we're sharing fantasies and we're sharing videos, but I've never been with them. And then I meet them, and then on our first date, they come with an expectation because they've already seen me, you know what I mean? They've already seen me in video. We've already explored fantasies. They know all of the things that I've said I was interested in. It's sort of taken the mystery out of it. And the bigger issue, it's not about judgment. It's not about being prudish. You do what works for you and what feels comfortable. And we live in a day and age where, there's lots of videos and chats and messages. People do that a lot. However, because I'm a mental health professional, I'm always thinking about what might potentially trigger a person or create trauma. And so I'd love to encourage all of us to just stay in our truth statements, be authentic, and only do what feels comfortable. Only ever do what feels comfortable. If it does not feel comfortable, don't do it. Hi, Wild Lion. Thank you for joining. And let's see. So anything that makes you feel disrespected, degraded, frustrated, vulnerable, invalidated. If you feel blindsided, sideswiped, taken advantage of, like you guys thought you were just going for tea and crumpets, and the next thing you're parked in a dark alley somewhere making out, and it wasn't part of the plan. These types of things, not cool, not okay, wasn't consensual. Now, if it's consensual, hey, do your thing. But if it's not consensual and if you feel uncomfortable in any way, that is not healthy foreplay. Foreplay must be consensual. It must be pleasurable and comfortable to all parties involved. Now, one of the articles that I was reading highlighted several things related to foreplay. It suggested that we give it a few dates and see the foreplay as something that's a journey. It's expanding over time. And it suggested keeping humor in your dating experience. That is a level of foreplay, being light. And we talked about doing things that light you up and doing those things that you're passionate about in a non-sexual sense. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Staying light, being humorous, exploring things that excite the senses. So think about smells and sounds, visuals, ambiance, those types of things can be foreplay. Maybe going into a candle shop or a shop with incense or tobacco, if that's your thing. Flowers, florals, these types of things can be a beautiful way to tap into the senses in a non-sexual way, but it really does begin to build connection. Of course, this won't be for everyone. Some people are going to want the racetrack, and some people are going to want an art exhibit, or music, jazz. Everyone's different in terms of what will begin to stimulate the senses and turn them on in a non-sexual way. But have fun with that. Before you rush into the physical intimacy, enjoy the pre-experience, the build-up. What stimulates both of you? What inspires you? What are you enjoying, even though you haven't actually gone to physical sex yet? So one of the articles talked about having special date nights before sex that you actually name. So maybe you have pizza night. Maybe you have yoga night. Maybe you have let's bake cookies night, baking night, or whatever it is. Let's play with flowers. Let's do pottery. Let's do clay. Let's paint. So they're talking about doing these fun things together that create a level of intimacy that hasn't gone to sex yet, to begin to stimulate all of you. And also, I think it inspires conversation and connection. It allows you to get to know your partner in a beautiful way, in a deeper way, before you actually go there sexually. Also, physical touch in a non-sexual sense. Now, of course, respecting boundaries, because not everybody will be comfortable with any physical touch. But some people love hugs and hand holding and a hand around the waist. Talk to your partner. Ask them what, maybe take them by the hand. What does it feel like if I do this? Is that okay? Or is that not okay? You can ask what's it like if I just rub your fingers? Now the face that's a little more personal, but you might ask, what's it like if I caress your face? Is that okay? They may say yes. They might be okay with it. And they may not be okay with it, right? And yes, you're welcome for this safe container. Thank you. You are part of that safe container. I really appreciate you. All of you who participate in the Hum Hum Space community. We're high conscious dating adventure and we're co-creating the experience, and safety is so important. So thank you for that comment. So remember, instant attraction doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship will or will not work out. So I want to remind you of that, because as you're exploring foreplay, you may find that you start that attraction may or may not have been present initially, but obviously foreplay might begin to stimulate some kind of chemistry, right? Some kind of energy. So just stay in the zone where you are, be in the moment, stay present, stay engaged. It's pretty common for attraction to happen over time. And so this is why we're talking about foreplay. With time, your comfort level increases around each other, and in many instances, that means that sexual attraction will increase as well. So another way to look at foreplay, it's a beautiful unfolding that may happen, but not necessarily the primary focus of the dating experience. And I know some of you are like, oh man, but not everybody's that way, because we're a high conscious community, right? And we know that in the right setting, with the right person, in the right experience, when the energy's right and we feel emotionally safe, sexual intimacy is a high probability, something that many of us will look forward to when the timing is right, when the energy is right. So we don't want it to be the primary focus. We want to be engaged and we want to stay present in the moment with the person. One of the articles that I read suggested that you do something that builds trust and intimacy, and they were suggesting things that might get the adrenaline going, like skydiving, ice skating, surfing lessons, zip lining, bungee jumping, something that you might want to do, some kind of like scavenger hunt, or, team sport, like a race or something, where you truly have to rely on them, and vice versa. And they were suggesting that we do this before we've had sexual intimacy, because being in that space of having to problem solve and trust each other, it's a trust building exercise. And so I thought that was a really interesting idea. I don't know that it would work for everyone. Again, it depends on how bold and courageous you are. our adrenaline junkies in the community, you probably would be all about it. And then some of the community that's shyer or maybe has had trauma or is easily triggered, that might not work for you. But certainly something to consider, right? For one of your dates, these types of things might be fun and definitely stimulate a closeness. So some questions that I want to encourage you to ask yourself before we talk about types of foreplay. Just some questions to think about during your dating adventure and your intimacy adventure. How can I be more and most authentic? What are my truth statements in this experience with this other person? In other words, how do I actually feel? You know, what's working for me? What's not working for me? Would I like to deepen my relationship? If so, how would I like to do that? Hopefully you're seeing how these types of questions are ongoing questions, and they're important to keep asking as you're meeting this person, as you're knowing this person, because at some point you may want to deepen and at some point you may not, right? Be honest with yourself. That's where your truth statements come from. What are my comfort zones? Like, is it okay for someone to hold my hand? Is it okay for them to stroke my hand? Is it okay for them to touch me here on my elbow, or is that uncomfortable? Am I okay with them massaging my shoulder or having their hand on my knee, or is that uncomfortable for me? So do I have off limit zones? And if so, what are those? Especially prior to intimacy. And again, just because you have had physical intimacy with a person doesn't mean you're comfortable with them just grabbing your breast or grabbing your butt in public. You know, like, we have to talk about these things. We have to have conversations about what we're comfortable with, what works, what doesn't work. The only thing I strongly suggest, well, there's many things, but of course, be authentic, stay in your truth, love yourself first, because that's where we find our worth. I'm going to say it again. Love yourself first, because that's where we find our worth. And as we find our worth, we can be very truthful and authentic with the other person. We can also address problematic areas or things that are uncomfortable in a way that's non-offensive to them, because we love ourselves first and we're not looking to them to validate us. We go within to validate ourselves. Okay. Another question, how comfortable am I communicating all of this with my partner? And if you're not comfortable, it's okay. Just begin to do some work around that so that you can begin to feel comfortable expressing your truth statements. Now, some other things to remember while dating and exploring sexual intimacy. I am going to get to foreplay in a minute. You are already enough, my dears. Beautiful Hum Space community and anyone watching. You are already enough. You are a person of value. Don't ever forget that. And your value does not lie in how well you perform sexually. Now, of course, there's going to be people who disagree with me on that, but they're probably not a part of our high conscious community. They launch from a different platform. They view sex very differently than we do. Your value, I'm going to say it again, does not lie in how well you perform sexually. Sexual intimacy is a beautiful unfolding that occurs between people that feel emotionally connected and safe. So there's raw sex, and then there's intimacy, you know, and there's no judgment. Whatever works for you, works for you. But because we're a high conscious community, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the beauty and the journey of the unfolding that occurs when you are, you know, authentic and self-honoring. So your value, my dears, is connected to your beautiful energy signature. You have value simply because you exist, and therefore you are deserving of respect, dignity, kindness, right, from others. So you define your own sexy, and knowing your worth is sexy, and knowing your value is sexy. And when I say sexy, I don't mean in a superficial kind of way. I mean in an energetic sense. You define what your own sexy is. Intellect is sexy. Having boundaries is appealing. Dignity, respect, loving yourself, liking who you are. These are all first steps before engaging in intimacy with another. So what is your level of intimacy with yourself? These questions, right? What is your level of intimacy with yourself? And the right person or people will always respect your comfort levels. The right person or people will always respect your comfort levels. And your no, if you say no at any point, if you need to say no, if you feel that's your safe space, your no never needs an explanation. So trust your gut, follow your instincts, be true to yourself. Like we've said all along, dating should be fun. It should be an adventure. And sexual intimacy should be comfortable and enjoyable for everyone involved. So let's remove pressure from the equation, whether it's coming from within or from without, whether it's coming from stereotypes or expectations or experiences associated with your previous dating experience or adventure or debacle. Let's try and remove the pressure from the equation and engage when you feel most comfortable and when you feel most aligned and when you feel most yourself. So, foreplay options. What do we do before we've had physical sex that could begin to stimulate more of an interest, that could connect us? Well, poems, writing love notes, watching romantic films together, read a romantic novel together. I have my 100 love sonnets by Pablo Neruda. This is in Spanish and in English, so you can read them in Spanish or in English. It's a beautiful way, imagine having a picnic and reading some lovely sensual poems. You might bring rose petals or wine or tea. You could feed each other strawberries, pudding, or chocolate. You can meet in the romantic section in the library, the romance section of a bookstore, and pick a book together, but only using eye contact and body language. So the book, and point to the book, and the person could say, no, I don't think this book, that book, but nothing verbal. Make it kind of sensual and fun and playful. And then you could go and read excerpts of that book while taking deep breaths. Eye gazing. We talk about eye gazing in our Hum Hum Space community and other conscious communities. Eye gazing is a beautiful way to connect with the soul of another person and to connect with your own soul. When you're on a date and you participate in eye gazing, it can be really nice. Just quietly looking in their eyes, seeing their beautiful energy, opening yourself up, the windows of the soul eyes, letting their energy in, sharing your energy with them. Very sensual, very beautiful, and you haven't even gone, to physical sex yet. Breathing deeply, sitting in lotus position, breathing deeply. If you feel comfortable, holding hands while deep breathing and, engaging in each other's eyes, saying affirmations, tag team affirmations, positive, I am a good person. You are a good person. I am beautiful. You are beautiful. Holding hands in lotus position while deep breathing, eye gazing, saying things like that to one another. It's beautiful foreplay. So you can set the mood using your mind. Be clever. Consider your partner, of course. Remember being present and giving attention. That is, in a way, kind of seductive. When you feel someone's completely attentive to you, not in a creepy way, but they're really engaged, they're really into you, they're really enjoying everything that you're saying, they're very interested and very intrigued, that in and of itself is quite seductive. When you feel someone really sees you, when you feel that they're looking into your eyes, not just at your body parts, right? But they're looking into your eyes and they're seeing your soul. Now, of course, that can be a bit intimidating. But I want you to notice when somebody's staring at you, but not in a creepy way, a very nice, loving, connecting way. They're looking at you. And they're not looking at you in a sexualizing way. They're seeing you. They're feeling you. They're feeling your vibe. They're connecting with you. Notice what your heartbeat does when you're looking in someone's eyes and you have that moment where you feel like, wow, they see me. I see them. They get me. We're feeling each other. Notice your heartbeat. That's sexual. It's sensual. It's foreplay. It's beautiful. It's energy, right? Okay. So, let's see. What if I don't feel sexy? This was one of the questions that came forward. What if I don't feel sexy? My looks, my body shape. What if I've been celibate for a long time? How do I approach sex with my partner when I'm not totally feeling great? Well, stay in your truth statements, honesty with yourself first, and then with the other. Sometimes we need more healing before we engage in physical intimacy with another. If you need that, give it to yourself so that you can approach physical intimacy from a place of real comfort. And of course, you're going to be nervous, right? The first time or two with someone, but give yourself permission to be in your authentic space before you engage. And we also we don't want to feel validated by the other person. We want to come into the sensual experience already feeling validated by ourselves. Remember, love yourself first because you know your worth. All right? And loving yourself first actually cultivates a sense of self-worth. So consider if you're even ready to engage in physical intimacy or is more healing needed. It's not your partner's job to make you feel sexually appealing. I'm going to say that again. It's not your partner's job to make you feel sexually appealing. Now, if you're engaged with the right person and the energy, you're matching each other's energy, obviously both of you are going to make each other feel amazing. You're going to say things, you're going to connect and make each other feel beautiful, but it's not their job and it's not your job. It's your own job, friends, to make yourself feel good about who you are by doing the work, doing your own introspective work, your own healing work, your own affirmations, all the things that make you feel good about who you are from the inside out, launching from that place of value, knowing you are a person of value, and you bring your own unique version of sexy, whatever that is. Maybe you make great chocolate chip cookies. You're intelligent. You started your own business. You're a great dancer. Even if when nobody's looking, you can really dance. Whatever it is, really honor and love all that you are. Bring that into your relationship, and you'll find that I think that the sexual experience, when you do finally go there, is richer and it's better, because rather than coming with low self-esteem and an interest in them validating you, you brought all that you are in the most authentic space and in the most authentic way. Unapologetically, you're choosing to share energy with this other person. And I've worked with a lot of individuals, and I'm going to leave gender out of it, but I've had conversations with certain people who have said to me, when they are engaging in sexual intimacy with their partner, the last thing they're looking at is what's wrong with the person. I've had so many clients say that to me, that they're noticing all that's right, all that's lovely, all that's beautiful, all that's cute, all that they love about that person. The connection isn't about what's wrong with them. Oh my God, that roll and that wrinkle and that. Nobody's looking at that. The gray hair and the, oh my gosh, I can't believe that the one toe is bigger than it. They're not thinking about that. If you guys have gotten to the space where you're connecting with one another so beautifully that you want to share physical sexual intimacy with each other, they're looking at all that's right. They're feeling all that's right, and they're enjoying all that's right in this present moment. So trust that, enjoy that. Thank you so much you're welcome. Thank you for being present and, sharing your energy here with us at Hum Hum. So another question that came forward, what's my role during sex? Am I supposed to be the initiator or the receiver? What's my job? Oh, whoa. Okay, so let's take job responsibilities out of the equation. Let's let this be its own thing, okay? So I don't want to say your job, but let's say goals. Goals. Well, connection. That's the goal. Honest exchange. Share your energy. Be yourself. Be authentic. Enjoy the experience as the overall part of this adventure. We've been talking about the unfolding of this adventure, the dating adventure, where you get to share your energy with someone. So see if you can release expectations associated with gender identity. Can you just simply be? And so a word on gender, you know, what happens if you throw out all preconceived ideas about gender roles? And the reason I'm saying this, regardless to how you identify as an individual and what your sexual preferences are in terms of gender or non-gender, imagine if you take those traditional ideas out, you just remove them, and you approach the intimate experience without expectations, and you just honor what comes up for the people present. Imagine just being in the space and allowing it, as long as it is authentic and as long as it is comfortable for you. This can really help you to release what is, sometimes it's social programming, sometimes it's familial stuff. And, you know, what this ends up doing is, you know, it sets us up for judgment of others, criticism of ourselves, expectations. For example, the next question is, should the goal be to orgasm? And if that doesn't happen, will my partner lose interest? Well, guess what? A mature partner is not going to lose interest if you don't orgasm, if they don't orgasm, because the intentionality is presence and engagement. Can we get the book name? Yes. 100 Love Sonnets, a bilingual English and Spanish edition by Pablo Neruda, the great poet. I was in Chile, Santiago de Chile, a couple of years ago when I got this book. I bought several of his books, actually, some of them just in Spanish, and others that were in English and in Spanish. And this is I've actually given some of these books away by Pablo Neruda to people who were having either wedding anniversaries or, you know, engagement parties. It's a very beautiful way to experience romance. Okay, so hopefully you got that. And, oh, one other thing real quick. So Don Miguel Ruiz, he has the 4 agreements. He's written a book, the 4 agreements. Okay, these are the cards that go with that book. And the 4 agreements are, let's see, be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personal, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. The 4 agreements. You can get the book. It's a really nice book. So I have the cards. I have the book too, but I have the cards, and I love after my meditation to pull out a card. And so I pulled this one out this morning. This one is from the Don't Take Anything Personal section, and it says, be immune to others' opinions. And on the back of the card it says, what others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. And when you're immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. And you may think, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, I read it because it was, you know, part of my meditation this morning. But I thought, oh, that really goes along with loving yourself first because you know your worth. And it really goes along with, you know, not expecting others to necessarily think the same way you do. And whatever, if you do find yourself in an experience, an intimate experience, where you don't feel respected, you don't feel protected, you don't feel emotionally safe to speak your truth, then that just lets you know this is not your person and this is not aligned. And you do what you need to do to stay safe and, you know, to remove yourself from any situation that is devaluing, disrespectful, and quite frankly, not worthy of you, not deserving of your time, energy, and your beautiful structure. But those types of experiences can be very dysregulating, and it's not easily done to put yourself back together, to heal, to remember who you are without taking what they did or said personally. So someone else's degradation, objectification, disrespect of your person, your physical body, is no reflection on who you are. It is absolutely a reflection of who they are as an immature consciousness, who's probably not ready to date. Please remember that, Hum Hum community. Love yourself first, so you know your worth, so that in the event that you come across somebody who is not aligned and is disrespectful and not able to match your energy, you just dust it off, shake it off, and keep it moving, because you know your worth. And you know that because you're loving yourself. So before I close, just a few tips. Enjoy the attraction. Focus on the energy of the moment. Let's be less orgasm focused and more connection focused. Stay present. Be intentional. Remember that you deserve to feel good, and enjoy the experience as a gift. See it as a gift where you're, exchanging energy with this other person. And if it continues to feel aligned, foreplay may easily, naturally gravitate into physical, sexual intimacy. Dear friends, if you're choosing to date consciously, you get to redefine everything about dating, about sex, and about intimate partnerships. You're not locked into any previous idea or any preconceived, notion about what dating and sex and intimacy is. As a high conscious being, you get to reinvent, recreate, and of course, redefine and define, and then redefine, and over and over again, what works for you and what is true for you. So you decide, my dears, what foreplay is. You decide what sexy is. Your clarity about these things really opens the door for you to have the conversations around sexual intimacy, the consent, what's okay, what's not. Your clarity about how you define intimacy, foreplay, readiness, connection. This is what's going to allow you to speak your truth statements and have real clarifying communications, conversations with your partners. Now, when we are conscious and we are aware of what our truth is, this removes the power over dynamics. This removes manipulation and broken approaches to dating, where people get hurt, where there's pain, where there's intentional suffering, where there's nefarious agendas. When we have clarity about how we define sex, how we define intimacy, how we define partnership, romance, and when it's the right time for us, when we're clear about that, it becomes very clear what's not aligned and what is not on par with our belief systems, our values, our truth. So in the absence of all this dysfunctional, low conscious approach to dating and sexual intimacy, we are able to approach sex from a clean slate and a clear canvas. And this, my dears, this is where it gets so fun. This is where it's exciting, because from that clear space, clear canvas, clarity, clear mind, clear heart, readiness, clear, clean canvas, woo, you are a conscious creator. So if you're a conscious creator, which all of you are, high conscious, community, Hum Hum Space community, what are you creating? And who do you want to create with? So because you're a high conscious creator, you want to select partners or a partner who is also a value creator, just like you. So when you select someone who is a value creator, that means you are selective. You're loving yourself first, you're knowing your worth, and therefore you are selective, unapologetically. You select a partner who values you, they value themselves, they're also loving themselves first. And in this beautiful space, with this co-creator, this value creator, you too, or however many there are present, you get to create something meaningful. Now, that could just simply be cathartic release, sexual intimacy for a cathartic release. For some of you, it can be deep, 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 deep soul love, and anything and everything in between on the sexual journey that is very much a part of the dating adventure. So I'm going to just close with that. Remember that you're a value creator. Be selective. Select partners that you can create value with. Be clear about how you define sexual intimacy and partnership and romance and all of those things. Be authentic. Be connected to yourself. Share energy with somebody who's worthy of, knowing you, being with you, seeing you. Someone who can match your energy. And then the two of you as value creators, create from that clear space, clear canvas. Have fun. It becomes magical at this point because you're grounded, you're healthy, you're strong, you are clear. And sexual intimacy, in my opinion, with another very clear, whole, healthy human is the most beautiful energetic exchange. All right, dear hearts, thank you for sharing space with me. I will be leading the Conscious State practice group tomorrow, which is Saturday, December 5th. It will be 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The group will be preceded by, I think it's 9:40. So 9:40 or 12:40 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. Shalyn will be leading our beautiful yoga, meditation, breath exercises prior to the group. You can sign up for both by going to the humhumspace.com website. Hope to see you. If I don't see you tomorrow, I look forward to seeing you during our next live or one of our upcoming events. Everybody be well. Blessings on your dating adventure. Have a great weekend. Bye.